Hi, welcome to CCTV's Live at 525. My name is Claire Wool and I'm the school board chair of the Burlington School District. With me tonight is BHS senior student Isaac Jenneman, BHS graduate of 2018 Tatum Vachereau, and City Councilor Dave Hartnett. We will be discussing tonight a bond ballot vote that will be happening on November 6th. And we'd like to hear from you, our viewers. You can call in at 862-3966 if we can answer any questions. But I'll start off to say we were extremely fortunate and proud of our support from the City Council and Mayor Moreau Weinberger for working with us over the last 4 months in developing a debt policy and a memorandum of agreement moving the bond item on the ballot. This is the first time the school board in the 55 years of the building of BHS has had a bond on the ballot of this magnitude. It has been 55 years since the school was built, and we feel that in 2018 it does not meet the needs of our students. We have a population right now of 954 students with a population that will be growing over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. Both our middle schools are at capacity, and we have the good fortune of living in a city where growth is inevitable with the development of Cambrian Rise and also City Place. So we are looking forward to the next 5 years and the future of BHS. And tonight we want to share with you our devotion and commitment to this high school and ask for your support in November for this bond. Isaac, can you share with me as a student in the past 4 years, entering your senior year, your thoughts on why it's important now for the citizens of Burlington to support renovation and new development at the high school?
Sure. Well, I think it's clear that just going throughout the high school, the work that's needed to maintain the building, and that work is becoming less and less efficient as we go on with issues with water leakage and heat and energy leakage from the building, as well as the just lack of accessibility in general. We are nowhere near in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. We have this giant black ramp in the high school right now, basically serving as a substitute for an actual accessibility ramp, which we definitely need. And throughout the high school, we have a couple of elevators that have been installed recently, but there's classes that students cannot get to and cannot participate in because they can't reach them because of their mobility. And
well said. And Tatum, thank you for coming back as a graduate. We know that you are busy and we appreciate your time. And reflecting back on your 4 years and growing up in the Burlington School District, can you share with us your thoughts of being a student at BHS and why you think it's important for us to renovate and ask the citizens of Burlington to support this bond?
Yeah, so for me, I've been an athlete at Burlington High School for the last 4 years, and we have one of the best facilities in the state, but our school just doesn't reflect our facility. So when I go on the soccer field, I want to give it my all because I know we have the best facilities, we have a great team, we have good coaches. So for me, I want to give my best effort, but when you walk into BHS, it looks the same as when my dad was in high school, and it doesn't make you want to give your best because you see that our school isn't in the best condition that it can be and what it should be for the technology that we have today. Our school should match what our technology is.
Mm-hmm. 21st century.
Yeah.
You're saying, yeah, you learn differently. Computers were invented. You need outlets in your classrooms, things like that. Yeah. And you're right. In 2006, I know Councilor Hartnett was instrumental, along with a lot of parent volunteers and faculty and staff, to renovate and put forth over a $6+ million bond to renovate all our athletic fields, and we have a turf with lights at night, and we do host those state championships that you speak of. So we put that investment in our athletics, which is incredibly valuable. Over 60% of our student athletes participate in extracurricular activities and sports. So thank you. I really appreciate your point of view. And Councillor Hartnett, thank you.
Thanks. I'm honored to be here to help represent the Burlington School District, which I'm proud of, and I think we all should be proud of in Burlington. I think, you know, it's when we talk about this project, I've always wondered over the years, and really I go back to, you know, Amy Mellencamp, who was the principal at BHS for many years, and Amy had this vision actually 8 years ago that, you know, we needed a new high school. And whether, you know, remodeled or new, but she kind of put the wheels, you know, in motion. And so this conversation just didn't happen overnight. There's been a long conversation about which direction we should go in, and I'm glad that we're here today because it is desperately needed in our city. We live in a world-class city, and we have world-class people. We have world-class teachers, and as you can see here, we have world-class student bodies, and our high school doesn't match that. And that's unfortunate. And so when I look at this ask of $70 million from the taxpayers of Burlington, it's time for us to make a decision. Do we want to make a commitment to our community? Not just to our high school, but to our community, because that's really what this is all about, right? We, as Claire mentioned, you know, we continue to build homes. We continue to want people to move to our city. But here's the bottom line. They're not going to come to our city if we continue to allow this high school to really just fall apart, which it has. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's unfortunate because I went there, and for me to say, I said it at the city council, I'm pretty straightforward. I mean, really, the building's a dump. And I can't say it any other way. I mean, I went by there today. It was pouring rain out, and my only thought was, how much rain is coming in that building, and are the kids using umbrellas to get to class? Because it's literally that bad some there that days when it rains, you know. And there's no excuse for that. Not here in Burlington, right? Where everyone says, you know, we're one of the most livable cities, and people want to come here and live. And unfortunately, right now, I think what's happening is that, you know, a lot of people that move to Vermont, you know, schools is the #1 priority, you know, mm-hmm. to a family, right? And so when they go and visit, you know, a CVU or an Essex and schools like that, and then they come to Burlington High School and they walk through it, they're saying, you know what, we're going to option to buy a house probably in Shelburne or in Essex Junction, and what that causes is our property values to lower as well. I mean, and so for the families out there that don't have kids in school anymore, who say, why should I invest in this? There's a lot of reasons why that you should invest in this. I mean, not only the fact that you should be proud to live in Burlington and be proud to have a fantastic high school, which we have, but you know, this building, I hope, and we'll talk about it more today, will be accessible to all Burlingtonians. You know, that we're going to have an extra gymnasium in this building. We're going to have extra classrooms in this building, meeting places where, you know, seniors could possibly use it. You know, we put the Miller Center together out in the New North End. That's kind of outgrowing its space. You can't even get a room at the Miller Center for a meeting or pickleball, whatever it is. So I think this is going to be a facility, not only a fabulous high school facility for our students and give them the learning environment that they need to succeed, but also a building that we can all be proud of here in Burlington. So I strongly support it. I know the city council does. I know we're going to be working hard for the next 4 or 5 weeks to get this passed. And it's just, you know, you're going to hear about it tonight, but you're going to see town hall meetings set up. You're going to see a press conference this week from the Burlington School District. This is something that we're going to work very hard on. And so I appreciate being here tonight, and I hope we can get the support from the city.
Great, thank you, Councillor Hartnett. I'm going to show a couple slides here so that the viewers can look at why we are moving in the direction that we are. So as Isaac mentioned, these are sort of a detailed explanation of how the proposed plan will improve the education of our high school students. As Isaac mentioned, the ADA and energy benefits of a renovated high school have long been clear. And our understanding is that these strategies for significantly addressing these issues with considerably less investment than currently is being proposed. And we appreciate all the input that those families that worked as volunteers to address these accessibility concerns, and those that went through the school and managed. But we also, for over the last, it's now since 2008, and yes, it's very appropriate to give our former principal, Amy Mellencamp, a shout out and props, because she did lead. In 2008, we received our NEASC accreditation, and we failed in the accessibility and efficiency category, and we were put on warning. And in that, we did make some minor upgrades. But again, in 2017, we had the same accreditation. It happens every 8 years. And we are still received a warning grade because we had yet to meet those accessibility issues. Along with accessibility, a law that was passed is Act 77 for proficiency-based learning. And that really speaks to the need for 21st century learning. That means that we need space where not only do we have more than 2 outlets in a room, but that we can team teach with other disciplines and other academics and work from a place that allows us to meet that proficiency-based grading. And again, a welcome learning environment, no more siloed learning. I think we can show you an overview of the campus that, for those of you that haven't been to BHS in a while, it's made up of 6 different buildings, including the tech center. And so the aerial really does give you a sense of the main building is where all the heating comes from. And all the heat, as far as efficiency, is distributed on the rooftops. And a lot of those pipes were uninsulated. And over the last 10 years, we've made attempts to be able to make it more efficient. But things that we look at, and when you look at the bullet points as you can read them, and I think it's important to take time here to identify what those challenges are and why that number, why we came to that number of 70 million. In 2 years ago, the city helped the district, and EMG was brought in to do a facilities analysis of Burlington High School, along with the other 8 schools. And they identified over $30 million worth of inefficiencies and upgrades that would need to happen if the campus were to exist in its form as it is now. And so in learning about that and identifying that, the history does go back to, as Councillor Hartnett shared, 2008, and more recently in the last 3 years, we looked at potentially building a whole new high school, and the cost was over $110 million. So to identify a project that we believe meets our needs for $70 million and identifies these challenges such as inefficient insulation and windows. If you tour, which we hope you will over the next 5 weeks, we'll be offering 1 tour a week after business hours so that those working can attend, and on the weekends. You'll see a lot of the windows are all foggy, and students looking out the windows they are ineffective and inefficient. And the building, which we can talk to as a whole, a group, the safety issues, the points of entry in Burlington High School is alarming. These buildings are made up of many different doors that have no alarm system, and students can come and go, and there is not a secured entrance at our school. In 2018, as we sit here today, the doors are open, and the safety is of great concern to many and the faculty. And what would how do you feel about the access coming in and out of the buildings, checkpoints, security? Isaac, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, just thinking back to today, like, use 4 different entrances to get into the building, which for me works great, but in terms of safety and security, that's not what we want as a high school. And so this new building plan really uses a building as its kind of center, and it allows for one central access point, which really allows school administrators and teachers to have a good idea of who's entering our building. And in this day and age, it's crucial to have that because school security is paramount.
And Tatum?
I just remember at one point last year there was a school shooting in Florida, and we were talking about it in class on how our school really doesn't have a good security system of how they know who's coming and going to the building. And for me, it just kind of unsettled me, and that the school shooting could happen anywhere, and I feel like BHS just doesn't have a good plan or good enough security system for preventing that from happening, or just knowing who's coming and going through our building.
And communication, like we talk about, if you were to go on the tour and you see, it has the old intercom system that is inoperable, or a lot of the clocks, obviously teachers leave and buy a clock at a store, so because we're still going off the same intercom system.
We do
and that communication.
Lockdown drills at the high school routinely, and last year in 2 separate classes, we missed the lockdown because the intercom system in the classroom just was no longer functioning. And so while it was a drill that time, if it were ever an actual lockdown or an actual security situation, we would have not been prepared or informed of that event.
That's a good point. I think because we live in Burlington, Vermont, and it's such a great place to live, right? We think that will never happen here in Burlington, and we hope it doesn't,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But if anything ever happened at the high school, to your point, I do not think we're prepared for it at all. And for parents today, that's an uneasy feeling, right? There should be no better feeling, right, than send your kids to school, right? You get up in the morning, you start your day, you hope your kids have a great day at school, and you send them off, right? And there shouldn't be any fear factors. And honestly, you can't say that today, particularly at the high school. That is just, it's really a nightmare security-wise. And to nobody's fault, really, because, the times that we live in and stuff. But, we could speak about safety. We also talked about the efficiency of the buildings and the heating system, right? You were sharing a story with me earlier that I didn't realize this, but you wore your winter jacket every day during the winter. She had to wear a winter jacket to stay warm. I mean, really? I mean, that's unacceptable, right, in that sense. And so these are stories that we're just hearing today, right, for the first time that I've heard that. I'm thinking to myself, this is what the most livable city is at their high school. This is what we're saying is okay, that we're willing to build first-class downtowns, and we're willing to put all this beautiful housing in, and we certainly want to fix up the auditorium. And, I got to tell the Burlington voters, if you're listening out there, all that stuff is great, and I support that stuff, but that won't make it a bit of difference if we don't have a first-class high school, because families aren't coming here if we don't, and that's the bottom line. And so this is why I think this is probably, for me, probably the most important issue that I've weighed in on in 8 years as a counselor. I said that night at the council meeting. I meant it. It needs to get done. I'm committed to get it done. And to hear these stories today around the table, I mean, it's just a small example of why it needs to be done. So I'm really proud of you guys for being here today, too.
Same, true.
Yep.
And it is unifying. I mean, when we think about if you're a new family and you're here and you have a pre-K student or a kindergartner, all of our schools all lead to BHS. So it is our, mothership of schools that, really gives the opportunity for everyone to meet there once you go to Edmonds or Hunt Middle School. And it has served, the students that have come out of there have benefited greatly, a much appreciation to our faculty and staff for the graduation rate that we have in our Burlington Technical Center and the faculty and staff there and our para-educators. It is great work comes out of BHS, and it's time, we feel, for this bond, and we appreciate that. Do you want to speak to, I know it's off topic a little, but if people are wondering, I know that there'll be 2 bond items on the ballot.
Yeah, no, I mean the water one is pretty self-explanatory, and I want them both to pass, and I think they're vital that they pass. I mean, Lake Champlain is really the economic engine of our city, and we need a clean Lake Champlain, and that's no question about that, right? And I think that we'll get there, and I think we've done this and smartly here this way, right? That is going to be a small fee of $5.67 in your water bill each month to take care of Lake Champlain. And to me, a very inexpensive way to clean up our water. And I think I applaud the city, and I think we've done a great job, and Chapin Spencer and his crew has done a fabulous job. This is a whole different ball game here. This is a big ask. There's no question about it. But it is an ask that really needs to happen. Claire and I, we had a conversation about a month ago. What have we really gone out and asked the taxpayers of Burlington to support for us that would make us a better city, really? And when you think about it, there isn't a lot, right? There isn't a lot. We brought up the Burlington Police Station, but a lot of that money was donated. There's other things in the city that we've done, but a lot of private donations and stuff. I think this is the first time that I can really say that we've gone out to the voters and said, listen, we need this. It's a big ask. It's a big commitment. There's going to be sacrifices. But at the end of the day, we're going to be a better city for it all the way around. And so I'm glad it's on in November. It needs to pass. Someone said, what happens if it doesn't pass? Someone said, well, we'll come back in March. Well, I don't want to think that way. This needs to pass in November. It should pass. And I'm hoping with the work that we can do in the next 5 or 6 weeks that we will get it passed. I think a couple of things that might be important that people might be wondering, about when will construction start, when will it end. I think will the kids stay at the high school during this construction period?
Yeah.
And the answer to some of those questions are construction will start in 2020, hopefully, if it passes. It will end in 2022. And the kids will remain mostly in the classrooms, from what I understand, if all possible. We're going to have D building and E building and F building to use during this process. So I know a lot of those questions have been asked. I think another question's been asked. Okay, we're putting $70 million into this, Dave. Where does that get us? Well, it gets us another 50 or 60 years for sure, if not more. The company that's doing the work has an exceptional reputation. I've done a lot of work in the state around schools. I visited a school up in Lamoille High School that they did some work to. You go into this school and it was a remodel just like the high school at Burlington, and it was you would thought you were in a brand new high school. So yes, $70 million is a big price tag, but it warrants it, it needs it. And I think when we get this done, we can all look back and say, you know what, we're proud of the work we did. We're proud of the students that have gone there. And Claire talked about the student body. I've said this for many years, and I'll say it again. We've gotten a lot more. The student body has given us a lot more than we've given that high school. We have an exceptional staff there. We have an exceptional student body. I was at the graduation this year. To hear some of these accolades that these kids received, that they were top 10 in the nation. I mean, I would invite anybody, if you haven't been to a BHS graduation in a long time, maybe your kids have graduated, maybe your kids didn't even go to Burlington, you moved in. If you ever have that opportunity, usually it's a Friday in June, the first Friday in June or second Friday, somewhere in that time frame, go to a BHS graduation. Go sit there and just look at the student body that we have and the faculty that we have and the awards that these kids receive. And two of them are sitting here today. I mean, it's just an amazing student body we have, and we owe it. We owe it to our community. We owe it to our students to get this done.
Well said. I couldn't have said it. Really, truly. And as a lifelong citizen of Burlington, your passion and being married to a native Burlingtonian and a graduate of BHS, we believe it is time, and we hope to get your support. We need your support. Our city needs your support, and our students. And like Dave said, if you are a retiree here, we welcome you to come. And I'm happy to give you a tour over the next 5 weeks. And our number is here. We have 5 minutes left, or 4 minutes now. But again, you can reach myself as chair of the board, Claire Wool. I'm on the Burlington School District website. I will answer every email or question that you have. Our website is an incredible outlet of information, historically, going back the last 18 years, where we have come from to where we are now in the plans and preparation of this bond ask. And the reason why I had brought up the sewer, just to, the school district recognizes that bond, and we recognize that it's a municipal
Sure.
bond. And so we value that, and we don't want you to have to choose between one or the other, and we believe that the time is now for the citizens of Burlington to make this investment in the high school. It is sort of the heartbeat, the largest economic engine that drives people to want to move to Burlington and create an environment in a city that we want that thrives. And last words for our students?
Something important to remember, and it struck me at one of our school board meetings, was that every year that we push this project back, it costs our city more money down the road.
Point.
And so if you're a taxpayer listening to this saying $70 million, that's a lot of money, 5-10 years from now, it's going to be more than $70 million. So we've really, this needed to be done when Ms. Mellencamp looked at it, and even further back than that. And so $70 million is expensive now, but it's going to be a lot more expensive down the road.
And Tatum, last words?
I just think that if we do end up renovating BHS, I truly believe that we will have probably the best school in the state of Vermont.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
That's a good feeling, isn't it? Yeah, I hear you. I agree 100%. So.
Thank you very much for tuning in and listening. We are very appreciative to be able to be here and share our commitment to Burlington.
Great.